Washington in Toronto taking on the Six at a 6 o'clock tip-off. Strong first half for the Washington Wizards, strong first half for the Toronto Raptors, a strong third quarter for the Washington Wizards, albeit without Bradley Beal, without Kyle Kuzma, and without Monte Morris. At the end of the day, Washington fell 10 points short to the Raptors, and now the Raptors take the season series 2-1. Washington here, heading back to D.C. on Tuesday to take on the Boston Celtics. Postgame Live with Christy Winters-Scott and Wes Hall. A lot coming up on Postgame Live, including Chris, Drew, and Megan momentarily. But Christy, I want to give you the floor. What did you see in this matchup tonight?
You know, I saw a fight. It was a 38-24 advantage for Washington in that third quarter alone. And what Washington did well coming out of the gates, they were able to get the spacing. They shot 44% from three on the night, but in that third quarter, at least 3 of their first 5 possessions were 3-point shots going down for the Wizards. So I thought the spacing was good. I thought the attack to get those wide open looks or those contested looks, but good rhythm shots from the outside, those were big time, and I thought they attacked the paint, thought they did a good job there. I thought they were getting the stops necessary on the defensive end. They were a plus 14 in points in that third quarter because of their defense, but also they were able to knock in shots, and I thought they shared the basketball. They had 25 assists tonight. So I thought the continuity looked good, but when you're missing 3 key pieces, that's 44 points, 11 rebounds, and 9 assists combined with Beal and Kuz being out. And then Monte Morris, he's had 23 games this season with no turnovers. This Toronto team is tops in the league and turning teams over almost 17 times a game for almost 21 points per contest in that regard. So with that being said, I thought that they played well for who they had available tonight.
Indeed. I want to bring in Chris and Drew and get them on this as well. Chris and Drew in Toronto. Guys, of all the things we want to talk about tonight, I want to give Johnny Davis the first mention tonight. Why? 15 points off the bench. 3 for 4 from deep tonight, Drew. What say you about the young guy's performance and maturation on the court? Sorry.
Hey, listen, this is everything they talked about, what he could provide coming in. This is what he did in Wisconsin, being able to knock down threes, get into the paint, finish. And he's come up with some big defensive plays. I saw him one steal that he got. He leaped up in the air and just snatched it out of the passing lane, which is impressive. Those are the plays like DeLon Wright makes, Jordan Goodwin makes. So that tells me that he can be probably a type of defender like those guys later on in his career. So that's a plus. And when you have games like this, and we talk about the journey of Johnny Davis, where he was at the beginning of the season and where he is now, this has definitely been a win. But Johnny Davis and the Washington Wizards, their draft pick, and utilizing the productivity of the go-go, utilizing that for once. I mean, not for once, but really having a guy that's a lottery pick going down there and flourishing, and then coming up here, and there's no let up. So I love what I'm seeing with Johnny Davis.
I'm just going to say this. Those 3-pointers that he let fly in that corner over there was really impressive. Showed a lot of fight defensively. You know, this young man has gone through a lot. And for him to come into a hostile environment like this, to get those type of minutes and that type of production, yes, indeed, you tip your hat to that young fellow. Indeed.
I want to tip my hat to another one of the guy we drafted last year, Corey Kispert. He decided he wanted to drop 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5th of them from behind the arc, guys. I mean, it sounds funny to make the joke, Christy, but Corey Kispert, I'm starting to get a little spoiled. I'm going to start expecting 3 out of him minimum, Christy.
All the time. I thought that he was very steady.
Yeah.
And I thought that his consistency with what he's bringing, and not just that, I mean, prowess as well. I mean, I thought he did a good job on the glass. I thought he did a good job of putting his face in the fan, if you will, inside that restricted area on the defensive side. But Corey Kispert's ability to move without the basketball, get in the vision of passers when they're being double teamed, and get that extra swing rhythm 3, I thought was fantastic tonight. He had 3 boards, but 19 points that they needed in the absence of 3 starters on the court.
Indeed, and speaking of the absence of Kuz, Tay, and Brad, I have to think about the job that Kristaps Porzingis did tonight, Drew. In their absence, 26 points, 4 for 7 from deep. Again, these guys can knock it down from behind the arc. What say you about the performance of the unicorn on a night like tonight where he's missing so much talent out of that starting core?
It's the norm. What he's showing me now, that he can be a feature piece on not just the Wizards, but any team. You can feature Porzingis in the post and make teams double team and figure it out. I mean, when he starts knocking down threes, especially from deep, he opens up the Pandora's box of scoring. I mean, the guy becomes unguardable once he's knocking down three. You can't stop him in the mid-post. Doesn't matter how deep he's posting up. And he's making plays like this, Wes and Christy.
Yes.
He's jumping the passing lane, finishing the ball on the other end of the floor at 7'3". This is a he's not called the unicorn for nothing. He is a highly skilled 7'3" specimen. And when I think he's going to opt out. You're going to have to really think about trying to re-sign this man because he is a centerpiece to any franchise.
I know this. Toronto was up by as many as 21 points. The Wizards go on that third quarter run, and Nick Nurse got nervous because of Kristaps Porzingis. The fact that defensively, you saw them blitzing KP. You saw double teams coming from different areas. KP got rid of the basketball, and yet when he gets on that nail and they had Fred VanVleet on him, all of a sudden you saw Siakam come, you saw Anunoby come, you saw Scotty Barnes coming over there to try to help. So Porzingis is a matchup problem, and again, to be so shorthanded tonight and still put up the numbers that he put up tonight was impressive. But I will say this, guys. You can't turn the basketball over against this Toronto team. I'll just leave you with this. In 3 games, the Wizards turned that ball over 57 times, and Toronto scored 80 points off of those in the 3 games. So you got to clean that up if you want to be competitive. Can't turn the ball over the way they've done.
Indeed, Chris, and I appreciate that nugget because one of the things we talked about at the half was the fact that the Wizards were struggling to try to find their groove, and turnovers were a problem in the first half as they were in the second. But, Christy, the third quarter was something that I asked you about. I said, hey, third quarter is going to come. What do the Wizards have to do? That was their highest scoring quarter of the last 3 games, 38 points, Christy.
Well, they had the basketball moving, right? And I think Kristaps Porzingis, 5 consecutive games where he scored more than 20 points. But to me, that's not the top of the list statistic for Kristaps Porzingis. It was just what Chris was talking about, how he was being blitzed, how he was being double teamed. And we said this in the pregame show. Give the ball to Kristaps Porzingis to see what the defense does. And what that does, it affords somebody else to be open because he brings attention to himself at 7'3", a 3-level scorer. Of course, he's going to draw attention. He's going to bring that second line of defense over to blitz, but he can see over top to make plays. So give him the basketball. And that's what we said pregame. And I thought that Washington in that third quarter, scoring 38 points during that juncture, I thought that that was a big character move for the team, shorthanded, and their ability to continue to attack, find the spacing, take the blitz when they come, but then make the reads off of that. And I think they did a tremendous job of executing in that way in the quarter court, but also in the defensive end. I thought they dialed it up. I thought DeLon Wright was fantastic in the passing lanes. You saw Kristaps Porzingis getting into the passing lanes as well. But I thought they were very aggressive on and off the ball defensively, and they disallowed second chance opportunities for Toronto. They had a 27-12 advantage in their second chance points, but a lot of those occurred outside of that third quarter.
I appreciate that. I want to ask Christian Drew, before we let you guys go, we know that Tuesday we'll be back home in D.C. taking on the Boston Celtics. And regarding confidence, thinking about guys like Johnny Davis and Corey Kispert, what does their performance tonight mean for them when it comes to facing off against Boston, who we know is obviously a much better team?
Hey, listen. Hey, Jaylen Brown, Tatum.
Marcus Smart.
You got to play defense. You're going to have to play some defense now. You got to try to stay out of foul trouble. You've seen Denny Avdia and Corey Kispert. They can put up some big numbers scoring the ball. But if you're in foul trouble, guess what? You're on the bench. So you cannot provide that offensive scoring punch if you're in there in foul trouble, having to stand up to the challenge, guarding those 2 guys. I mean, that is a double-edged sword over there in Boston, and it is tough to deal with. Those guys are highly capable of both combining for 80 points.
Again, I just go back to Johnny Davis to do this here on the road. And you know how it is, Christy and Wes and Drew. Young players play better at home. So if he can take this and apply it at Capital One Arena, again, when we got 7 games left, I'm really interested to see what this young man can do with a successful night like this, albeit in a loss. But the fact that Johnny had some confidence tonight, not only scoring the basketball, but defensively, he stuck his nose in there tonight.
Yeah, I love it, the youthful energy. This is the perfect time to see what you got, kid. Go out there and roll the dice and make it happen. Chris, I want to let you go. I want to say farewell to you and your partner there, the graduate, once again.
Appreciate y'all. Appreciate it. I love y'all, man. Y'all family. Appreciate it.
Fam, always, man. You guys have a safe journey. We'll see you back here on Tuesday.
Probably going to wear that sweatshirt on the plane home.
Hey, Wes, send me the memo. We don't wear the same suit again. weekend.
Hey,
all right?
bro,
So we
man,
know.
I'm just saying, man. We keep doing this thing. I got you, my friend. I appreciate you as always. Christy, as we look back at this game, obviously it was Toronto, like I said, a lopsided first half, and we knew the importance of the third quarter.
Yes.
But I meant what I asked them about the confidence that young players need. Like they just said, Boston's got their own situation going. We know who's out there on the court. It is what it is. But I want to see Corey Kispert knock down 3 or more threes. I ain't going to ask for 5, Corey. I ain't going to ask for 5.
Winky,
I won't. 5.
Winking.
But when I see these guys feeling more comfortable on the court, not only just individually, but together, what does that show you when they get that much time to spend together out there on between those 94 feet?
Yeah, that shows me heart. Right? That shows me heart and determination. You have to be intentional with what you're doing on the court. And I thought that even though they're young, I thought Denny Avdia as well. As of late, he has been picking up his confidence, and those reps in pick and roll actions, they've really been proving well. So I'd love to see Johnny Davis come out. Like Chris said, yes, it's tougher to play on the road. When you go back home, it should be more easy to play. And I get that. But at the same time, if you don't possess the heart and the want to, there's a have to and a want to. And those feel differently to me, especially in young players. When you have to do something, it's a little bit different. Like, well, okay, I have to go and do this. But when you want to do something, there's a drive about that. There's a purpose behind it. There's passion with that. That I'll take 10 times out of 10. So with Johnny Davis, I think he can bring that level of energy. He can bring that level of focus. But that comes with the reps that he's getting in opportunities like this game to earn his minutes on the floor and to really gain some traction with his confidence and the repetition and the rhythm of what the Wizards are doing on the offensive end.
Shout out to Johnny Davis getting it in right now. I want to bring Megan McPeak into this conversation because, first of all, I know you got a lot going on, Megan, so we're not going to make it long so you can enjoy your family and friends. That's super important to us on this show. But I do have to ask you about your assessment of the game, and not just overall, but more importantly, that third quarter, and then if I had to add a second layer to it, the young guys in their development.
I mean, listen, if you can look at it like a bonus or silver lining in the situation when you don't have 3 of your starters sitting out, you get to play the young guys and you get to see what they can do. And I think this time over this stretch for Johnny Davis, and I know Chris has talked about it and Drew's talked about it and Christy has, we all have, it's been phenomenal for him because not only has he put in the work with Amber Nichols, Mike Williams, his staff with the go-go, but now they're taking that work and that development and what he does with the development coaches, and now he's putting it into perspective on the NBA floor because at the end of the day, the G League and the NBA is 2 different types of basketball in the sense of guys are bigger, stronger, faster. We know that. So you can do it against the G League. Now let's see what you can do against the NBA. And he's starting to have that confidence that you want to see. And I think this is a great opportunity for him. You look at guys like Jordan Goodwin as well, too. Obviously, he's been on this stage throughout the entire season because of injuries, but they're looking a lot more comfortable. They're looking a lot more fluid out there, and you're starting to see the chemistry build amongst the young guys as well, too. That is the silver lining of what's going on with the Wizards right now. And at the end of the day, you cannot change the circumstances. They have to accept the circumstances that they are dealing with right now and play through it and move forward. And right now, Wes Unseld is relying on his young guys to try to get things done with Kristaps Porzingis and, you know, a young veteran in DeLon Wright. You look at a Corey Kispert as well, too. He's relying on this young team with KP to try and see what they can do and maybe try to still get into the play-in because Wes said before this game, that is still his goal with this team is to get in there. And he's relying on the young guys, and you're starting to see them flourish, and I think it's a great opportunity for them.
Hey, opportunity knocks. The question is, will you answer the door? And right now, the guys have the doorknob in their hand. What are you going to do? That's all it comes down to. Megan, I appreciate it. Don't go too far because on the other side, we got head coach Wes Unseld Jr. joining the show here on Postgame Live. And Bradley Beal, obviously, he's an NBA player, but what was his foundation to his great game? Some may dare say AAU. Well, Brad might have a future leading franchises. We'll tell you about that on the other side. Postgame Live return.